Hey everyone, and welcome. We have an incredibly fun explainer lined up for you today. We're diving straight into a classic, super exciting storybook adventure about two very different mice. Get ready for some huge surprises, some seriously delicious snacks, and, well, a few kinda scary moments too. Because today, we're exploring a wonderful little story called It's Good to Live Safe. All right, let's jump right in.
So, before we actually meet our furry little friends, I want you to imagine something for just a second. Have you ever wondered what it's really like to live in a quiet country village compared to a giant bustling city? Picture a peaceful village. You hear the wind blowing through the trees, little birds chirping, and everything moves nice and slow. But now imagine a massive, noisy city. Cars honking everywhere, buildings so tall they practically scrape the sky, tons of people, and just nonstop action. Well, our two main characters are about to figure out exactly how different these two places can actually be.
Let me introduce you to our heroes. First up, there's a little mouse named Honey. And Honey lives a very quiet, super cozy life out in the village. One day, he invites his friend Bunny over for dinner. Now, Bunny is a fast-talking mouse who lives right in the middle of the big city. Look at these two totally different dinner menus. Honey proudly serves his absolute best village food, which is a big plate of plain barley and cauliflower. Sounds delicious, right? Well, Bunny, the city mouse, was actually pretty shocked. He takes one look at the food, crinkles up his little nose, and says, "Really? You don't eat well at all. I have all sorts of fine things to eat every single day. You just have to come visit me in the city."
And so, a few weeks later, little Honey does exactly that. He travels all the way to the noisy, busy city just to visit his friend. Bunny is super eager to show off his fancy lifestyle, so he takes Honey right into the kitchen of the massive house where he lives. They scurry across the floor and climb all the way up onto the lowest shelf of this giant cupboard. And wow, tucked right behind some big stone jars, there is a massive bag of brown sugar. Little Bunny uses his sharp teeth to gnaw a hole right in the side of the bag and invites Honey to just dig in. The two little mice nibble and nibble, and Honey is thinking this is literally the sweetest, most delicious thing he has ever tasted in his entire life. He's thinking, wow, Bunny is so incredibly lucky.
But then, bang, out of absolutely nowhere, the kitchen door swings open with a massive, terrifying crash. It's the cook, Sita, and she has come stomping right into the kitchen to grab some flour.
"Run!" Bunny whispers frantically, his little whiskers twitching like crazy. The two mice scramble as fast as their tiny little legs can possibly carry them. They zoom across the wooden shelf and dive headfirst straight into the tiny little hole they'd come out of. Poor little Honey is huddled in the pitch black, shaking all over like a leaf in the wind. His tiny heart is just pounding. But Bunny just casually waves a paw and says, "Oh, that's nothing. She'll go away soon, and then we can go right back out."
I mean, that's the crazy, fast-paced life of a city mouse for you, right? So after the cook finally leaves and shuts that heavy wooden door, they steal softly right back out into the kitchen. This time, Bunny takes Honey to a dark little corner on the very top shelf, and they find a giant open jar of sticky raisins. After a whole lot of tugging, pulling, and heavy heaving, they actually manage to yank a massive plump raisin right out of the jar and onto the shelf. Oh boy, they start nibbling away, and Honey decides this is somehow even better than the brown sugar. He loves it so much he eats as fast as his little mouth possibly can. But suddenly, wait, do you hear that? Scratch, scratch, scratch. It's coming from the bottom of the door. And then a sharp, piercing, super loud meow. Honey jumps straight up in the air, completely panicked. "What in the world is that?" he gasps, just completely frozen in place.
Shh, Bunny whispers urgently, his eyes just wide with pure fear. Bunny practically flies back to their hiding hole with Honey right on his tail. As soon as they're safe inside the dark walls again, Bunny catches his breath and whispers into the darkness. "That was Kitty, the old cat. She's literally the best mouser in town. If she catches you, you're lost."
Okay, now Honey is absolutely terrified. He's shivering and says, "This is really terrible. Let's not ever go back to that cupboard again." But Bunny is a city mouse, and city mice never, ever give up on a snack. Sneaking through the shadows, Bunny says, "No, we won't go there, but I will take you to the cellar. There is something truly special down there."
So the two of them creep quietly down these dark, creaky cellar stairs. And wow, this cellar is just amazing. Huge bunches of onions are hanging overhead. The shelves are absolutely packed with tall tins of grains, sweet jams, creamy butter, and these big jars of spicy pickles. The smell down there is so incredibly good, it completely goes to Little Honey's head. He's running along the long shelf, grabbing a little nibble of grains here, a tiny lick of butter there. I mean, he's having the absolute time of his life. Until his nose twitches. He smells something super rich, something perfectly delicious. He looks over into a shadowy corner and sees the most beautiful piece of bright yellow cheese just sitting right there on this funny little wooden stand. His tummy rumbles. He opens his mouth, leaning in real close, just about to sink his teeth right into it. "Stop! Stop! That's a trap!" Bunny yells out, waving his paws wildly in the air to stop his friend just in the absolute nick of time. Honey freezes right in his tracks, just totally confused. He looks at Bunny, with his nose still inches from the cheese, and asks, "What's a trap?" Bunny looks at the wooden trap. Then he looks at the yellow cheese. And then he looks very, very seriously at Honey. He explains it perfectly and very slowly. He says, "That thing is a trap. The minute you touch the cheese with your teeth, something comes down on your head, and then you're dead." Oh my goodness. Little Honey takes a huge, wobbly step back. His heart is pounding. His knees are super weak. He looks at the cheese, he looks at the scary trap, and then he looks back at his friend Bunny. He takes a long, deep breath and says, "If you'll excuse me, I think I'm going to home. It's really nice to have brown sugar, raisins, and butter, but I definitely do not want to be frightened to death all the time. I'd way rather have my plain barley and cauliflower to eat and get to eat it in peace and comfort." And so Little Honey packed up and went all the way back to his quiet village, where he stayed safely and happily for the rest of his life.
So, the absolute most crucial point of our story today comes down to this beautiful lesson from the original tale. It tells us it is better to live a simple and safe life than to chase after luxury and risk danger. Honey realized that all the sweet sugar and fancy cheese in the whole wide world just wasn't worth it if he had to constantly run from stomping cooks, hide from hungry cats, and dodge dangerous traps. Being comfortable, happy, and feeling completely safe in his quiet little village was really the greatest treasure of all.
And that brings us to the end of our explainer today. But before we go, I want to leave you with a really big question to think about. Would you rather be like Honey, enjoying a simple, peaceful, and super safe life? Or would you rather be more like Bunny, wanting a flashy, luxurious life, even if it's full of risks and scary moments? It's a fantastic question to chat about with your parents, your teachers, or your friends. Thank you so much for joining me to explore this wonderful story today. Keep learning, keep reading, and as always, stay curious.